Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Manisha and today we will discuss about OSI model. So OSI model is one of the most important and basic topic of networking, and it's really important for not for just fresher, and it's also important for the experienced candidate. In interview, it's one of the most asked question, and interviewer may judge your understanding by asking this question, and it's very important to mention few points which you will see in upcoming slides. You have to mention this point to explain OSI model. Actually, it's a long, you know, it's a long, it could be very long video if I start to explain every steps in OSI model. That will discuss later. But if someone asks you about OSI model, you have to give answer by mentioning the upcoming points. So let's begin. So introduction to OSI model. If you will be asked that what is an OSI model, you have to mention this point that OSI stands for Open System Interconnection, and it's a 7-layer model for networking communication. It standardizes communication function across different systems. Its importance in networking, it facilitates compatibility between vendors, and it helps troubleshooting network issue by isolating the layers. So what does this first point means? That if we are building a network which comprises devices of different vendor, so it will provide you a standard which will work for different vendors. No matter if it's a device of HP or Cisco or Juniper, it will be valid for every vendor. So this OSI model has been built. So let's discuss each layer one by one. So application is the layer 7. So we'll discuss like top to bottom. So application layer, what happens in this layer? It provides the interface for end user application to access the network service. So whenever you are going to explain the OSI model, it's always preferred that you take an example and then try to make them understand that what is happening in each layer. So for example, you compose and send an email using Gmail or Outlook, then SMTP protocol handles the sending. So means the application layer, it provides you the interface or GUI using which you type your message and try to send that. So you can take an example of sending a mail through Gmail where SMTP protocol handles this sending, or you can also take an example of you are searching for an website by typing HTTPS. So HTTPS protocol there working at layer 7. So SMTP and HTTP, HTTPS, these are the layer 7 protocols. Let's move on to the next layer. Is the presentation layer, layer 6. So what happens in this layers? Data is translated into format, both sender and receiver understandable language. So it handles the encryption and decryption, compression and decompression, coding, encoding and decoding. So what happened in this layer? So for example, you type the data, then it will encrypt it to make it secure at the sender's end, and at the receiver end, it will decrypt the message so that the receiver can read it. So all these kind of functions happen at the presentation layer. So examples of presentation layers are SSL, which is secure socket layer, TLS encrypts your email so that it can't be read by the unauthorized parties. At receiver's end, it decrypts the same data to make it available for the receiver and receiver. Next is session layer, which is layer 5. What happens at this layer? Sessions are established, maintained, and terminated between application. Synchronization and dialog control occur here. Example, you say your email client maintains a session with the email server until the message is fully sent. So it will, the session are being established, maintained, and terminated in the session layer. So you can give this example of sending the mail, or you can also give a very simple example like YouTube video streaming, where the session is being formed. Then once you see the video, then the session is being terminated. So this is the working of session layer, layer 5. So next is transport layer. This is one of the important layer, I would say. So what happens is at this layer, data is segmented into smaller chunks. Reliability is ensured with acknowledgement, sequencing, and error recovery. So you can say that this layer provides the reliability, and it does the acknowledgement, sequencing, and error recovery. So TCP and UDP are the protocols which are used in this transport layer. So TCP is reliable and UDP is comparatively less reliable. So you can study about TCP in details. It's again a separate chapter where you can see all the details, how TCP packet flows, how it make a session, then three-way handshaking comes here. So all these things, like in every layer there are multiple protocols and you have to study each protocol in detail. But if you will be asked the question about OSI, then it's okay to just give the brief and just the example of few protocols. So let's move on to the next layer, which is layer 3, the network layer. What happens at this layer? Logical addressing happens. So IP address comes in picture in this layer. So routing decisions are made to move the packet across multiple network. Example, your email packet is assigned to your IP source, and the mail server's IP, which is the destination, routers decide the best path using the routing protocols. So all kind of routing protocols will come and under this layer, like BGP, OSPF, wherever this IP address will be involved, that will comes under network layer or layer 3. Next is data link layer. What happens at this layer? Frames are created by adding MAC address. So like in network layer, IP address was there. In data link layer, MAC address will be there. Okay. So whenever you will see there is a MAC address, that is happening at layer 2. Here's the frames are created by adding MAC address of source and destination, and error detection codes CRC ensures reliable link-to-link delivery. Example, your laptop NIC is nothing but the network interface card, adds its MAC address and the router's MAC address to the frame. ARP is used to map the IP with MAC. So ARP is address resolution protocol. It will map the IP address with the respective device MAC address. So MAC resolution will be done by this ARP protocol. And again, ARP you can study separately. It's again a separate topic. So in this layer, our protocol works. So our first and final layer is physical layer. So at physical layer, the our data gets converted into zero and ones, which is machine understandable. So raw bits 0 and 1 are converted into electrical signals, light pulses, or radio waves for transmission. For example, your Wi-Fi card transmits the binary data as radio signals. So that's all about all the 7 layers. So you can summarize it as functions and protocols. To remember, you can understand it's like application layer, and user. What is the function? It's the user interface, network services, and the protocols example are HTTP, FTP, SMTP, DNS. Presentation layer used for data translation, encryption, compression. And the examples are SSL, TLS, JPEG, MPEG. Session layer used for establishing connection, manages session, net bias, RPC, SIP. Transport layer used for reliable delivery, segmentation. Examples are TCP, UDP, SCTP. Network layer, logical addressing, routing. IP, ICMP, IPsec, OSPF, BGPs are the example of the protocol in this layer. Network is network layer, logical addressing, routing. Sorry, I just read that. Data link layer is physical addressing and framing of the data happens. Ethernet, PPP, ARP, and VLANs are the example. Physical layer, transmission of raw bits. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, DSL, fiber optics are the example. So if you want to understand the flow, then this diagram will really help. I took this diagram from blog.bytego.com. So here is the sender and here is the receiver, and sender receives the data to device B. So all this process happens while transmitting this data. So user A will write something or use the application layer to send the data like SMTP, HTTP, or FTP. So it will go from application to presentation layer. At presentation layer, the formatting will happen like encryption, or they want to protect the data by introducing an encryption key, or they want to compress the data. So that things will happen at presentation layer, and then it will be transmitted to session layer, where the data will form a session. It will decide when to terminate the session, when to establish the session. Then it will go to transport layer, where the TCP, UDP comes in picture. So you can see the TCP segment is here, UDP packet will be added. So in every layers, the encapsulation of packet will happen. Like if it's using TCP, then TCP header will be added. If we are using STTP, then STTP header will be added, and STTP header will be added from the application layer itself. Then at network layer, IP header will be added, and the data link layer, the header will be added. So the packet will be encapsulated while sending and decapsulated while receiving it. So finally, at physical layer, it will get this data in binary form, and it will be transmitted through the media, and will it arrive at destination. And here decapsulation will happen. At physical layer, it will remove the MAC address, and it will see, yes, it's my MAC address. Then it forward the data, and then this IP header will be decapsulated, and so on. So in that way, finally, the de-encrypted data will arrive at system B, and the receiver would be able to read the data. So yeah, entire these things will happen at OSI layer. So you can explain this way. So I hope you find this video useful. So you can take like up to 4 to 5 minutes to summarize all these important point about OSI model whenever you will be asked. So you should not have any confusion about OSI model, because that's the foundation, or you can say it's the building block of in for any network engineer. You have to know this, and if required by heart this. Just remember all the points about OSI layer, because if you fail to explain the OSI model at first level, the interviewer may get very disappointed and they may not select you for the process. That's all from my side. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.